If narcissism were obvious, no one would fall for it. No one wakes up one day thinking, I'm going to get involved with someone who will slowly destroy me. That's not how it starts. When you watch Gone Girl for the first time, the reaction is almost automatic. This person is evil, exaggerated, cruel. It feels like fiction. Something far removed from real life, because the movie doesn't warn you. At no point does anyone say, this is narcissism. This is manipulation. This is dangerous. The story just unfolds, and that's exactly how it happens in real life. At the beginning, everything feels intense, fast and engaging. There's too much attention, too much interest, too much admiration. You feel seen, chosen, placed in a special position. It doesn't feel excessive. It feels like connection. And that's the first place where most people get lost. Because there is no aggression at the start. There is conquest. There is no attack. There is charm. Narcissism doesn't begin by destroying. It begins by seducing, and it works precisely because it feels good. Only later does something start to shift. Not all at once, gradually, small comments, small corrections, subtle invalidations. Nothing strong enough to leave, nothing clear enough to point at, but enough to make you doubt yourself. You start explaining too much, justifying what you feel, reconsidering reactions that once felt natural. And the discomfort is strange, because no one is shouting, no one is hitting, no one is openly cruel. There's just a constant unease, a sense that you're never quite right. This is where the most dangerous part begins. When you try to talk about what bothered you, the response comes ready, organized and convincing. The story is retold, facts are rearranged, and suddenly the problem seems to be your perception. You hear things like, that didn't happen like that. You're overreacting. You misunderstood. And without realizing it, the conflict stops being about what happened and becomes about whether you can trust what you feel. This is the point where many people get lost completely, because it doesn't feel like aggression. It feels like conversation. It doesn't feel like violence. It feels like a misunderstanding. In Gone Girl, this is taken to an extreme. In real life, it's subtler, and that's why it's more effective. Over time, you begin to adapt. You avoid certain topics. You choose your words carefully. You learn what triggers silence, withdrawal, or indirect punishment. Not because someone orders you to, but because it seems easier that way. And while this is happening, other people enter the picture. Comparisons begin to appear. Examples of how others understand better. How others are calmer, more mature, easier to deal with. You're not discarded immediately. You're placed in competition, and that binds you even more. Because now it's no longer just about the relationship. It's about proving that you're not the problem. All of this happens without labels, without names, without explanations. That's why it goes unnoticed. When you try to explain it to someone outside, it sounds weak. There's no concrete proof, no isolated sentence that sounds outrageous, no clear event that explains the confusion. You talk about atmosphere, about a feeling, about something that doesn't quite add up, and people often respond with, that's normal. All relationships are like that. You're being too sensitive. And the cycle continues. The cruel part is that it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. It can be a boss, a friend, someone in your family, a figure who takes up too much space in your life, someone who always seems right, always confident, always in control of the narrative. In Gone Girl, everything explodes because it's cinema. But what sustains the story isn't the crimes. It's image control. Who looks trustworthy? Who looks like the victim? Who looks reasonable? The film simply exposes something that, in real life, happens on a smaller scale, but with the same psychological effect. Narcissism doesn't impose itself through force. It slips in through normality. And when you finally realize something is wrong, the question is no longer, what is happening? It's, when did I stop trusting what I see? Maybe the most dangerous part of narcissism isn't the destructive ending. It's the seductive beginning, the confusing middle, and the fact that, for a long time, everything feels normal. That's exactly why it's so hard to identify. Not because these people are obvious monsters, but because they know very well how to appear human. If this kind of dynamic doesn't sound absurd to you, if it feels uncomfortably close, stay, subscribe. Here, stories are not entertainment, they are points of lucidity. And sometimes lucidity doesn't prevent the fall, but it prevents it from happening again.